definitely. He's arguing. He's saying a lot.
The lady who used to do the track.
Oh, Marie.
How are you doing? The lady who used to do the track is tonight.
You've got any best one?
I think it says a lanyard for the table post. Thank you. Guys, grab a lanyard for the window as well.
Don't worry about that, we'll just hang on to it anyway. Right folks, if you want to come over this way, just so that I can take this off. Right then, so as I said, welcome to Celtic Park. I'm going to be taking you around today. My name is Marie Rowan, and as I've told you outside, I have another guide here.
Yes, Miss Exton, welcome back here, guys.
This is Alex and Joe's first day back, so we're thrilled to bits that you've actually got the dream team. Three of us always work together on a Monday, but because of the pandemic, this is the first day we've actually all been back together, so it's grand. And there is Joe.
I'm Joe, I'm community coach at the foundation.
So there you are, he'll give you autographs if you like. Everybody likes the coaches, they don't bother about us, the guys. So, the boys are going to stand over there so that I can keep this mask off. You want to stand over there, Alex?
Oh, right. That's right.
That's lovely. Right then, this is the boardroom here at Celtic Park. Always changes in the match day. It looks wonderful in the match day with all the different types of food on the table there. All the posh food actually. I don't even think there's a chip in sight. They don't have that sort of stuff here, but it looks very, very good indeed. This is where they entertain all the officials of the other clubs, so naturally they're wanting them to see all the best trophies that we've won over all the years. The bar down there is lit up, very fine green lighting on it, and each of the wee ducats there, plus the bar itself, has a trophy of some sort that Celtic have won over the years. Now we were formed, as most of you will know, as an Irish team here in the west of Scotland. We were actually formed in 1887, but we take the 1888 from our first competitive match, but the real meeting was actually in November 1887. Celtic came about simply because there were lots and lots of Irish here in the west of Scotland, and Glasgow obviously in particular. There were lots of these sort of spots like Edinburgh and Dundee, Greenock, all these folk who had massive Irish populations there. And in 1887, Hampden and the Hibs, which was the big team, the big Irish team at the time before we were formed, they came to Glasgow in 1887 and won the Scottish Cup. And a big reception was given for them here in the East End, a big dinner for it. And during that dinner, the Hibs secretary, or the Hibernians as they called themselves at that point, the Hibs secretary stood up and said, why don't you just form an Irish team here in the west of Scotland so that the Irish don't have to travel all the way through to Edinburgh just to see a good Irish team. That was a big own goal under any circumstances. That must be a whacking own goal. We were formed. Brother Walfrid was at that meeting. Brother Walfrid was an Irishman from Ballymote in County Sligo, and there's the little bust of him. If you go to County Sligo, if you go to Ballymote, outside the railway station there's a huge original one of that. He took up the Hibs secretary's idea, and of course we finished up with Celtic. He called us Celtic, but that was simply because he didn't want any trouble between the Irish and the Scots. And we were both, the Irish and the Scots, both of the Celtic tradition, and that's why we're called Celtic, but it was just mispronounced as Celtic. We've been Celtic ever since. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to tell you a bit about some of the the trophies in here. Generally speaking, Alex would do some as well, but we're about to sort of change it, so we're leaving it just now. So it'll be next week. If you want to come back next week, you'll hear Alex doing his stuff. In fact, I think he was a lot of Glasgow Cup. You know the little Glasgow Cup already?
Yeah,
you could probably do this. You want to do the Glasgow Cup? Can we get to it then?
Yes.
Right, so we'll do the Glasgow Cup then. I'll tell you a wee bit about it. Alex will tell you a wee bit about some of them as well, or one of them today, but he usually does 3 of them. And after that, we'll go through the double doors there. We have a back corridor there. We usually have 3 big cabinets there. We don't have any there just now because that corridor is now being used as an extension to the away team dressing room. When you play in these European games, the dressing rooms and the dugouts ought to be the same size. Ours are not the same size as the home team, but they've managed to sort of wangle it a little to give the away team a bit more room in the dressing room. It doesn't actually matter in an ordinary game like that, but if it's a Champions League final, that's when it all comes into play. We'll pass through there, we'll go through to the home team dressing room. We've got all the jerseys up. You can all try sounding the names. I'm not very good at that. I'm still practicing some of the names. After the home team dressing room, we'll go through the tunnel and out to the track side. Now, there are barriers there, so just be very careful. You must stay behind the barriers. We are not allowed, under any circumstances, on the pitch. You can go into the dugout, of course. Take off, if you want photographs, take off the mask, take off the high-vis vest if you want to, but put them back on right away after it. After that, we'll come back in, we'll go up the wee stairs to the director's box, and when we're there, I'll tell you a lot about the stadium itself, because you get a better view of it rather than doing it at the track side. And after that, we'll come back down and out we go. So I think we'll get started right away, shall we? And tell you a wee bit about some of the trophies. Obviously, we're not going to cover all of these trophies, but if you see one that you particularly want to know about, just ask and we'll tell you. And we always start with this one up here, the 1901 International Exhibition Trophy. It's also sometimes called the Glasgow Exhibition Trophy. That was 1901, and if you could look at that trophy, if you could look very carefully at that beautiful late Victorian trophy, you will not see Celtic's name on it, you will see Rangers' name on it. We met Rangers in the final, and we were beaten by Rangers, unfortunately, and that was Rangers' trophy. Why is it not at Ibrox Park? And the answer is that in 1902, the following year, while Scotland were playing England at Ibrox, in those days you played it here, you played at Hampden, you played at Ibrox. That particular year, of course, it was at Ibrox Park. And during that game, part of the terracing collapsed. 26 people were killed, well over 500 were injured. If you think back to those days, they didn't get the compensation that they get today if you're involved in some sort of an accident. You really had to fend for yourself. So all of the teams were getting together and all sorts of tournaments were being played. The main one, that was the prize. Rangers put that up as the prize for the main trophy, or the main tournament. Well, it's a repeat of the previous year's final in the exhibition, the International Exhibition Trophy. Celtic versus Rangers, and you can see who won this time. So that is why it doesn't have Celtic's name on it, although we actually won it at the second goal, really. And if we look at this one, we see 6 wee circles in it. Can you see them? You count the 6 wee circles. Each circle represents a league championship win. We were the first team ever in the UK to win 6 league championships in a row. That was way back 1904 to 1910. It was a truly great Celtic side at that particular point. Some of the greatest players in the history of Celtic played in that team. I think they did the whole 6 with only 1 or 2 changes in the team, which was today it's quite a significant thing. That, of course, was given to us by the Football League, excuse me, to commemorate that. They obviously did not think that anybody would ever go beyond the 6 in a row. They haven't forgotten about they didn't even think that we'd ever make 9 in a row, far less do 9 in a row twice. And don't ever mention to me 10 in a row. I'm trying to get over the disappointment. The 2 9 in a rows are just as good as the 6 in a row in those days. And here we have 2 of the most famous trophies in the history of Celtic. Everyone has heard of the Coronation Cup. I've got to apologise because you don't see them properly because the lights are out. The lights are broken actually, and it costs thousands to get them fixed, so we're trying to sort of source the part of the equipment that will actually help us. This is the Coronation Cup, 1953, the Queen's coronation. Top 4 Scottish, top 4 English playing for this. And to win this one, we first of all beat Arsenal 1-0. And then went on to meet Manchester United. Now, we saw them off the premises as well, 2-1. And in the final we met the team with the best forward line in Britain. And that of course was Hibernian, the original senior Irish team here in Scotland. Hibernian, the famous 5, the forward line where every man in that forward line was trying to score a goal, which is quite a feat these days. We had not recovered from the war and from the 40s when we actually were not taking football seriously. We were still trying to catch up with everybody else, and in 1953 into the Coronation Cup, and we defeated Hibs, this brilliant team. We defeated them 2-0, and there we have it, Coronation Cup. And the very last one, at this little bit before Alex is going to take over, he's a bit better at statistics than I am. This is the Empire Exhibition Trophy, 1938, huge exhibition here in Glasgow at Belhouston Park. The usual football tournament going in, top 4 Scottish, top 4 English again. And in the final of this particular one, we met Everton. Now they were the English champions. They were a truly superb team in the 1930s. We had not been very good because 1931, everybody remembers the man over there, John Thompson, who died after an accident at Ibrox Park. It really took everything out of the team, and the support we all lost it totally. Just the whole interest in it just fell. But with signing a couple of new players, mid-30s, we then became one of the greatest sides ever in Celtic's history. So Everton came up against us, 2 great sides, and we beat Everton 1-0. I'm going to ask a question I always ask, and I don't know why I bother asking it, because I've only ever had one person say yes to this one, or yes, I am from that place. Is anybody here from Maryhill? Has somebody demolished Maryhill? Never anybody from Maryhill. Maryhill's a vast place. Well, it was a wee man, Johnny Crummer, and Celtic great, who scored that winning goal. Instead of running around kissing all the other players, as all you guys will do, won't you? When you score a goal, you all run around kissing each other. Johnny didn't do that. He's above that kind of thing. Johnny nipped round the back of the goal and danced the Highland Fling. And there it is. That's it. That's how to score a goal and celebrate it in Scotland. So I'll be watching out for all you guys in the school teams and whatnot, that you're going to do it properly in future. Now I think Alex is going to tell us about this one, which is the Glasgow Cup.
Yes,
Do you want to come up here, Alex? I'll do it all. Where did I put the thing?
For me, was it 1891?
Yes, you just go for it. Alex knows it all. I don't know why he asked me, because he knows the dates. Yeah, you tell us about it.
Glasgow Cup is when it 1891.
Right. Right, and do you remember when it came up? It came up in 1887. That was the first time it was actually put up for grabs. And it was simply because the SFA stopped Scottish, the SFA stopped Scottish teams from playing in the FA Cup. They always did it, they always made a lot of money. And one of the teams actually reached the final of the FA Cup, couldn't afford to get down there, so they had to withdraw. So the SFA said, well, you either play with us or you play with them. They couldn't afford to play in England. So this was the one that came up to allow them another source of revenue at that point, because they lost a lot when they couldn't play it in the FA Cup. So this one, of course, as Alex would probably tell you, we had lots of, if Celtic met Rangers at any point in the Glasgow Cup, the crowd would be well over 100,000. That's one quite a bit. Nowadays, of course, it's played for by the under-21, simply because there's no time, because of the European connections and the European competitions. Right, well, we'll just hang on a second, Alex, if you just want to stay there a wee minute. We have already mentioned John Thompson, young man from Cartondale in Fife, who signed for us in 1927. He was only 17. By the time he was 18, he was the automatic choice as goalkeeper for Celtic. And he was, by the time he was 22, the year he died, he was the automatic choice for Scotland as well. That's a Scotland International jersey. But after that dreadful accident at Ibrox Park, it was an accident, it was just something that could happen to anybody. After that particular accident, Celtic really lost hope. It just took the life out of the Celtic team. But as I say, by the end of the 1930s, they were winning the Scottish Cup, they were winning Empire Exhibition Trophy, that sort of thing. Right, if we just move back along a wee bit, if we could come right back here. Alex, you could actually do this. Alex usually does this.
It's a 25th of May 1967.
Big voice.
Oh, right, there was a 2-1. There were 3 down against 3 chairmans.
Good for you. Yep, thank you very much, Alex. Alex usually. We're trying to remember what we actually would normally do for the three of us together. As Alex said, Lisbon Lions played Inter Milan in Lisbon, and that was what we won, the European Cup. We were the first British team, first UK team ever to win the European Cup. The jersey you see here belongs to the man who scored the winning goal, and I remember when that winning goal went in, our house just went mad. Fortunately, those days, most folk were starting to have television sets. In those days, you think that's mad, don't you? You don't have a telly. But in those days, everybody was beginning to really have one, and we could actually watch the game. Stevie Chalmers' jersey and Guarnieri Inter Milan number 5's jersey. If you look at the pennant behind there, that is the one that Billy McNeil is holding. You know that iconic photograph where you see Billy leading the team out in Lisbon. That is the pennant that's all wrapped up that he actually passed over to Inter Milan, but we've now got it back, I'm happy to say. The one above it, you might think we've won it several times. We haven't won it once. But under Jockstein, we're never out of the quarterfinals, the semis, or even the finals twice under Jockstein. We were beaten in 1970 by Feyenoord, but the very idea that we were in the final twice was just quite incredible, really. This little one up here was given to every team about 6 years ago who'd either won the Champions League or the European Cup, because they're banned replicas now. What they gave us to keep once we sent the original back after a year was that little one there. Now that doesn't impress anybody. That's why everybody has their replica made, but they've stopped that now, so that is what you're going to get up there. Any questions you'd like to ask about anything that's there? Hey boys? What's the Highland flag? No?
I think it's quiet today, this morning.
They're very quiet, aren't they, Alex? Yep, I know. What do you think, Joe?
I've got one.
A bit in the
I've got one question.
Yes.
The one on the top right, is that like a player award? The one with the camera in it?
The camera, the team won that in 1967 for winning the European Cup. Obviously the BBC sports personality. The one beside it, this one here, 10 days after we won the European Cup, we were invited to go and play in Alfredo Di Stefano's testimonial. One of the greatest players in the history of world football, played for Real Madrid, so all Celtic went to the Bernabeu. And in front of 122,000, we beat Real Madrid 1-0, playing football what we call the Celtic way, close passing, skillful, attacking football. That is not a style that came about by accident. When we were formed by this charity, for one reason, Celtic came into being for only one reason, and that was to raise money to feed the poor children of Glasgow's East End. All profit that we made was to go towards the poor children's dinner table, that sort of thing. Of course, by the time you get to sort of today, it's changed into the foundation. Joe could tell you a lot about the foundation. Alex as well. Alex helps, does a bit of coaching on a Saturday morning. But that is quite something in the history of Celtic. But this, just to go off it a wee bit, this one here was actually given to the chairman of Celtic, Bob Kelly, Sir Robert Kelly, at that particular point when we won the European Cup. The one there that we have, the goal of course was scored by Bobby Lennox against Real Madrid. Real Madrid were pounding the Celtic goal because they did not want to lose that, not with their greatest player, they didn't want to lose that trophy. and it was John Fallon from Blantyre. I said, from Blantyre? Oh, where are you all from?
Me.
Where are you from?
Blantyre.
Are you from Blantyre? Oh, well done. Where are you? You're round the back there. Thank you. Well, you can be very proud of John Fallon because he kept that score at 1-0. That was the night Jimmy Johnson terrified the life out of all the defenders in the Real Madrid side. They were refusing to go and try and tackle him. And I don't blame them either. Any other questions, folks? Shall we go through to the home team?
That was,
yeah.
oh no. Thank you.
This is the whole one, yes. You can be a bit noisier than this, Alex will be complaining again. I have never been a good friend from Blantyre. Very well. Very well. You read the history of Celtic and Everton, like that. Long before Liverpool at all, Celtic and Everton. So they were always up here, we were always down there. That's where you get your money in those days. If you were knocked out of the cup, because they weren't up seeded, you didn't seed them in these days, any cup, knocked out right away, you played friendlies, and the favourite teams for Celtic playing, the favourite of all was Everton. That was before they split up in Anfield, because the same thing happened to Everton as happened to Celtic. We moved from the first stadium to here, a stone's throw, right beside each other, because the landlord put the rent up, and that's what happened in the same year to Everton. And they went to Goodison Park, and some of the directors stayed behind at Anfield and formed Liverpool. But Celtic and Everton were like that. We also played Newton Heath, which would be, of course, Manchester City. And what was the other one? Ardwick, no, Manchester City was Ardwick. Newton Heath was Manchester United. That was what it was. So these were our favourite ways of making money. So there we have it. We have a very close relationship with Liverpool, but the first one was Everton. Even after they split up and went to Goodison Park. In fact, the Celtic captain Dan Doyle was the captain of the Scotland team when they played at Goodison Park, and I think it was 1895. So they have a big connection between the two clubs. Right, folks, there I've got. I always like to talk about Everton. Yes, or what you can, if you don't get it right there, what you can do is come back and you can go out there and get it. Where's my wee Everton boy? Do you want to come and press the button, close? Well, let us be glad to press the button. You press 1 or 3. 1 or 3 to get the music. You might have to wait a minute. That's okay. Oh, I must be saying the wrong one. Right, let's. Must be 1 or 2. That's a crowd. There we go.
It's a grand old team to play for. Yes, it's a grand old team. Be glad when
Home team dug dugout box, as you see them, the little pit out there. Home team dugout, away team dugout. Here's a nice guy. One or two little things. I'll just be pointing them out so you can try to follow what I'm doing. If you look up there, there's a glass box up there. That glass box is a police surveillance unit. It's also used by the ambulance people. The seats in front of that floating down, right in front of the box, you can't really see them. There are seats there, and those are part of the ones allocated to the opposition support. The away support is there. Just a bit to the right, to the left of it, that is all the away support there. And if you just come a wee bit nearer, up there, the first of the sort of 1, 2, 4 or 5 glass windows, that is a police surveillance unit. No, it isn't. That's the players' lounge. Just to bear any resemblance to the Polish, is it? It's the players' lounge. So if you want to see who's on the team that day, look up there, and if he's got a pint in his hand, he might just be on the team. There's no guarantee of it. Now, do you see the desks that are there? Those green desks, those are used by the media, the radio and the newspapers. Now, they used to be up there. That green box there, when you look at it from the pitch, it says Celtic Football Club. We call it Sky Box here. That Sky Box, when before it was called that, when Fergus McCann came in the mid-1990s to get the club up and running again, he was shown in there and he asked, who's in here? Who's normally in here? And he was told it's the media, because it was built in 1971 just for the media. He said, how much do they pay to work in here? How much do they pay? And he was told they don't pay anything. So that's where they are now. They were turfed out immediately, and Fergus split that into 2 hospitality boxes, which when I started here, which was 2003, brought in something like well over 300,000, so it's almost $1 million now these days, which is a nice little bit of business for by Fergus McCann. Now these, as I said, director's box, and the ones up there you can buy. Those are all you can buy. Lots of companies have got, you see the big sort of gold thing on them. I always tell you the story that one of the guys had one for years and then his wife found out, so he doesn't have one anymore. But what amazes me is the fact that his wife was paying a couple of thousand and then that again. I did not notice it before. So he's now over there, someplace in the heave-ho. Now if we go forward a little bit, that is the jobs being stand, it holds 13,000. The little barn stand holds 13,000. And the north stand behind me, the old jungle, it holds 30,000. And we hold about 4,000. Those of us who sit here. In the stand, I won't go quite to all the old stuff because okay, so that I've got a seat here. So we have the job ceiling over there. When we go around, we get to the jungle, which was the part of the stadium that had the best atmosphere of the whole place. Put out a thing called the Jungle Tales, and you just laugh all the time at some of the stuff that actually happened there. All the players turned in the style when they were playing on that side of the pitch. You know, half time you would change around to the other side. They turned on the style there because they knew they would get a few roadblocks or bits of encouragement called out to them when they were playing over there, so they knew better than slack when they were over on that side of the pitch. If you go to that corner, that carp in the northeast stand, just over that is the first Celtic Park. We came here in 1892 when the landlord put an end of it, I mentioned. There's just a little plaque now saying that it was the original Celtic Park, because it's now flats. It was down in the factory, it's now flats. But you'll see the seats are different there from everywhere else. That is our safe standing area. We were the very first team in the UK to have a safe standing area, and I think Man United and Liverpool, all these teams are still at Manchester City. They're all coming up and having a look at that to see just how it can work. But I know that Liverpool is certainly with their supporters for their day. After the Hillsborough disaster, they've got a lot more to think about before the service. But it's very much easier to get a safe standing area in Scotland because you just apply to the local council, and if you can afford it and you prove it's safe, you can have it. Whereas in England, these are changing the law before these people can actually get these safe standing areas. During a European night, this has to be an all-seater stadium. And what they do is they incorporate in the little bit where you can sort of lean, they incorporate a seat, and each person who season ticket who has a seat over there, they're given a key and they just unlock it and put it down and then bolt the seat down. It becomes an all-seater stadium. Now there's the Lions stand over there. That is really our family stand. We encourage people with their families to go there. And you see the glass windows up above. The one on the right is actually our sensory unit. So that if you have a child who is very upset by noise, the child can go in there and be calmed down, and the parents who are with them can watch the game without the child being upset by the racket that comes when it's in a football stadium. And the window to the left of it, that's our sort of play area. If you come with your family, you put the children up there, and they have playstations and face painting, do all that kind of stuff before the game. But they have a great time. The rest of us just sit and watch and then of course we come back round, we come round again to where we started, where the away team actually sit. Any questions you'd like to ask about that? Any questions? No? What's that?
It's very quiet.
They are very quiet. We'll have to put in a report of that. Except the folk from Blantyre, they kept this up. We're used to things like this. We know the folk are listening, even if they don't laugh at jokes, we know that they're all listening. Right folks, I'm actually going to just finish the tour here. So, can I thank you on behalf of Alex, on behalf of Joe here. Oh, Alex likes a wee clap. Oh, that's nice. Well done. That's good.
Thank you very much, guys, for coming on this morning.
That's lovely. I know. Thank you, as Alex says.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Alex keeps the well-mannered side of the club up. The rest of us sort of scramble trying to remember what our manners are. Alex and Joe. So Alex and Joe are always with me. So if you see one of us, you'll see the three of us. So thank you very much for coming today. And down at the foot of the stairs we have, you can probably pass a table with lots of programs on, so just take whatever you like from there.
You got the game on top of it?